from allergy congestion? Allegra D decongests. Allegra D depressurizes so you can breathe. Allegra D, a fast, non-drowsy antihistamine, lots of powerful decongestant that gives you doesn't cause congestion and pressure.
I thought the camera was going and I started this and it wasn't, so kind of ahead of the game here, but basically for this OHC deal, you can start by cutting from the visor to the visor. It's like a straight line. You can come back about 3 inches and cut the square out, just so you get an idea. Of course, you want to be center here. It's pretty easy. There's the headliner. It's got, you know, some indentations here from the visor, so you just center off those 2 lines here. Just eyeball it. That's all you really need. Once you get this hole cut, you want to come down toward the glass and leave about anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2 inches of fabric on this headliner, and that should put you right at there's a little bend in the roof here. It kind of angles down here and then it bends, and there's metal here for about 1 inch, and then that's the end of it. You'll see it. You basically just want to cut this headliner down to this bottom of the metal there. On this bracket, it's got this tab. This actually lines up with the roof line here. So instead of, you know, trying to put your OHC and poke the tabs through the fabric to line it up and all this, you know, and you may not be far enough forward, you might be too far back, and the OHC might not fit around this curve here. So when you get this cut, just go ahead and put your OHC up to where you cut here, and you'll want to cut the fabric back. And you just want to go, you know, about 1 inch less than the length of the bracket, just so there's something to hold it on. So I'm just going to cut it right about here. As far as the width goes, it's always better to cut it too skinny than too much. Obviously the OHC is only so wide, so, but the bracket you can finagle in there. It really doesn't matter the width, because you can finagle your bracket in there. So basically just cut it wide enough so you can slip your bracket in. That's all we're really after. Alright, so here's another piece I removed here, so that's that. Check this here. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so I got about 1/4 inch narrower on each side of the bracket in my fabric, so it might do it. I'm going to try to finagle it in here. You just start by putting the back in. You slip it up in here, and it's actually really easy. Okay, so now it's in, and what you want to do is just slide this bracket down until this little tab where it bends meets up with the factory bend in the roof. Which is right there. And that's it. If you, you know, you have to cut your holes here for the slots. But this will give you 100% perfect fitment for the bend in the OHC that comes up over the headliner. If you try the, you know, the other method, you kind of put the front of the OHC up here and you rock it back and you push it up into the headliner to make the mark. You know, you might be too far forward, you might be too far back. So this way it's 100% perfect. So I'm going to go get my drill, and my pop rivets, and then we'll get this thing mounted up. Okay, so we're back now. I don't have any pop rivets. I normally use pop rivets for this install. This will be the 7th one I've done, but since it's my truck and I can piss with it anytime I want, I'm just gonna use some screws. But yeah, normally I like to use pop rivets. And I would also, at this point, when I put my pop rivet in, I would use my before I put the rivet in, I'd put the eyelet on the ground. So then that's grounded. But since I'm going to use some screws, I can just take it out and ground it when that time comes. So it's not a big deal. Okay. So it's a pretty small drill bit, so we want to be careful we don't break it. Got this big ass drill here. It's probably overkill for what I'm doing. It's possible it won't even chuck up. There, we got it. Okay. Alright, so before we do any drilling, we want to just double check our bracket. Make sure it's centered. And again, we're just going to eyeball it using... You can put these visors down and go off the visor ends, and kind of get an eyeball, or I just go by these lines right here that are already in the headliner. So I'll just kind of line it up. These are my map and dome light wires. I ran these when I did my headlight fix, or the dome light fix. It's on a how-to. Check that out. Alright, so for the screws, they're going to have to go down here by the slots, because there's no material up in here. You could probably put them in here, this little uprising, but nah, you really can't. The only place is really down here. So again, the tab, make sure that the bend is lined up with the bend in the roof. Make sure you're centered, you're happy with it, and then we'll go ahead and drill it. Make sure you get low enough that you're going to grab the roof, because you don't want to be drilling a bunch of holes in your bracket. That's a tiny bit, so be real careful here. I'm probably going to break it. When drilling this, you want to make sure you're perpendicular to the bracket. So I think I am. Probably got a better angle on the camera, but it's pretty close. Otherwise, you'll walk all over the place and it's a big headache. Okay. It's probably too small, I think. Oh, fuck yeah. Alright, hold on. We gotta get a bigger bit here. Fucking dog. Alright, here we go. A little bigger bit here, that should do it. Jeez, that ain't gonna work. Alright, well, it's been a long day. I need yet a bigger bit. Alright, here we go. Let's try this one. Fucker. Alright, so we're still not there yet. I'm just going to go ahead and blame that on my contacts. The fuzzy. Alright, let's see here. Wasting time. Okay, there we go. Alright, so when you select your bit, if you're going to use screws, you don't want a bit that's the same size as the outside of the threads. Alright, you want the drill bit to be the same size or a little bit smaller than the shank of the screw. Otherwise, you ain't going to have nothing to bite onto. Don't shop for a new car until you've gone to ABB.com, the trusted source. My wife's trip to the city come on, we're really getting it. I mean, she's dying of and going to dead end, we're going dead broke. So to save some money... Okay, now it turned on me, so I just want to make sure we're some square again. I'm just going to hold it. Let's see. Oh, shoot. There we go. There's an easier way to save. Go online. Go to geico.com. Get a quote. 15 minutes could save you 15 minutes. Just moving all over the damn place. Alright, well, it seems to be moving quite a bit, so I can't hold it. So I'm going to drill the next hole. Make sure my thing's centered again. Where the hell's my other screw at? Oh, here it is. Alright. Here we go. Look for Allegra D at the pharmacy counter. Okay, so my bracket moved, which is not good. So I want to square that up again. Gingerbread men are gingerbread boys. All grown up. Correct. True or false? Netflix lets you watch movies instantly. No, still want to move. Watch unlimited TV episodes and movies for only $8 a month from Netflix. Make sure you get your bit in far enough so you don't go through and poke the outside of the roof. That part wouldn't be very good. Okay. So again, if you decide to go with pop rivets, you want to make sure you put your ground eyelet onto the rivet before you rivet it. Otherwise, you're going to have issues. With these bolts, I can just take them out, put my ground on here. Okay. Now, you don't want to over-tighten these and break them. That would be a bad deal. Whoa, what's that huge package doing in your office? Okay. That is one gigantic package. What's in it? Now, your cut here on the headliner may be crooked. So don't look at the headliner and the bracket to determine if you're straight. Because if your fabric's crooked, you're going to think the bracket's crooked when the bracket's actually straight. So make sure you get some good side, measure it from the side here. Or get, even a tape measure, you could pull it from the door, or, pull it from the hook here or something. I don't know. Just make sure you're square before you start drilling into your roof. Alright. So now that it's mounted, we'll need to get these slots drilled out, or cut out, whatever you want to do. Now the first one I did in plow rig, I used a Dremel and burned the shit out of the fabric. So if you're going to use a Dremel or something, take your piece you cut out and kind of stick it up in here. However it's going to work, catch all the sparks. So you can burn the shit out of this. You won't melt your headliner. So I'm just going to use my drill. I've done this on a couple of them. I'm going to get a bit that's the same width or close to the slots already. So I got less drilling to do. It looks like a 1/4 inch bit. It's going to be the one I need. Now this is a big bit. Can't go in any further, so we need to make sure we just don't ramrod this thing up in there and hit our outer skin of our roof. Let's see how this goes. Okay. Now see here, I'm going. Okay, so the battery died in the camera. So we just drilled our hole in for the slot here. Shut up. Okay, so you want to go slow if you're going to drill it. If you're going to use the Dremel, use your piece you cut out to stop the sparks burning your shit up. If you use a bit, it's long, so make sure you don't ramrod it through, poke a hole in your ceiling. You want to go slow, and what might happen is when you break through, you might want to draw the drill up, so just be cautious of that. What you can do is, if it does that, and you can't drill it because it keeps sucking up, put it in reverse, put some pressure, and then just hit it, and it'll just drill any birds out that are grabbing. You basically just want to go up a little bit, enough to where the hole you're drilling is not going to overlap the hole you've already drilled. Otherwise, it's just going to create problems. So, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, again, the drill's sucked up, so I'm going to put it in reverse and back it out with a little bit of pressure. Okay. And it looks like one more will do the length that we need, so we don't walk. Okay, so once you have the 3 holes drilled, you can use your drill bit. Be careful you don't break it. And basically stick it in the hole. I start with the middle one. And back and forth, and you can put it straight and then apply pressure downward and walk your bit down. Let's give that a shot, see what happens here. Okay, so I started in the middle hole and I got all the way up through the top hole. So what I'm going to do now is go down to the first hole I drilled and do the same thing. Just be cautious of how far your bit's in and where you're at in the roof here. We don't want no rain coming in on us. So again, you just rock this thing up and it'll just eat any remaining material out of the way. just like that. Okay. I got a little bit of material, probably about 1/8 of an inch showing inside of the slot yet, so the OHC doesn't use the whole length. I could probably get away with it, but I'm just going to go ahead and remove it while I'm here, so I don't have any problems. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Start at the bottom. Alright, so that's it. The bracket's installed. I'm going to go grab the OHC and we'll see how it fits. Okay, so I'm back now. I got my OHC. This is my blue camo one that I painted up. This was in Newbie, which was my 01 Ranger. I'm just going to take this wiring apart here. It's getting dark out. We need to hurry up. Okay, as for the wiring, it's real simple. Try not to get overwhelmed with it. We'll go through the wires here in just a second. Okay, I'm going this by memory, so bear with me. Blue, white, blue, yellow are the temp sensor. Okay, we'll go to there. Black, blue, and green, orange is map and dome light. I'm not sure which is which. Just put them to whatever the colors are in your Ranger. The gray, black is the speed sensor. I don't use it, so I'm just going to cut it. Then you got gray, yellow is the power. This one I like to run if you have an aftermarket CD player. You'll probably have the plugs, you know, the smart plugs. Mine actually have two sets of wires on the, you know, the yellow, the red, and the black, which is power, battery, and ground. So what I like to do is run this to one of the wires on the plug, because it's accessible, it's there, and I don't have to cut it into any harness or anything. The black is obviously ground. This is what we talked about with the pop rivet. You put your eyelet on there, and then ground it out right here. I'm going to do that later. And then the blue-red is the dimmer. So this would just go behind your radio, or if you don't even want it, you don't need it, so I'm not going to use it, I'm just going to cut it. I always leave enough wire to put a connector on if I want to hook them up later. But I'm not, so. Okay, so that's that for the wiring. I've actually got a Bugman OHC LED panel. It's really bright. So if you haven't got one of those, I would invest in one of those. They're really nice. Alrighty. Ran out of memory on the last recording, so alright. Okay, so we've got the dome light and the map light wired here. Now I ran a green wire for the green orange, and then I had an orange I ran for the black blue. So those are wired. This is the ground. I'm just going to kind of touch it here, give you guys a peek. There it is. So we know that's working. Okay. I use the heat shrink butt splice. They're really good connectors. They crimp, and then you use a lighter, like so. You can heat them up. They melt up real nice. Nice tight connection. Watertight, airtight, whatever. Okay, so then we have console power, ground, and then these are the temperature sensor wires. Again, the speed sensor, the gray-black, I haven't hooked it up in any of them that I've done, and there hasn't been no effect. And I know this is good up to a 2001 as far as not having that hooked up, and everything seems to work fine. So I don't hook it up. You can hook it up if you want. So right now I'm going to hook up the ground. It's got to go up here to the front. The wire's at the back, so I got to add some to it. And that way I can at least have some lights for the time being until I get back around to hooking the other stuff up. I'm just going to strip this here. Now I've got a well, let's see, this might be enough here. Okay. Well, I've got some left over from the orange that I snipped off when I was doing my measurements. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the orange for to extend the ground. Normally I'd like to have a black. I'd like to not use red or anything that resembles red, because I can get confused for power. But in this case I'm just going to use this orange because that's what I have. Okay, so we got our butt splice, heat shrink. I'm going to crimp that, stick that in my mouth. I'm going to put the crimpers back on the crimp on the other end, and I'm going to crimp it to the black right here. Let's see, this. Okay. Give it a little tug, make sure it's on there. Alright, so next will be the lighter. You want to try not to burn your wire. Sometimes it happens, it's really not a big deal. Ideally, you'd probably want to use the red butt splice. They're more appropriate for this size wire, but I don't have any, so I'm using these blue ones. They work fine, just that they, I guess they seal up all the way. Sometimes they shrink down and they won't seal 100%. So make sure you get the appropriate size butt splice. You wouldn't want to use the yellow size, those are way too big. That's full of fail, no good. Heat gun works good for this too. Careful you don't hit the headliner with the flame. That's no good. Okay, so on the other end of this, I'm going to install an eye. Now they make these in heat shrink. I don't have any. So what I've got is some heat shrink tubing. Right here. Whole roll of it. I use this stuff on my, I bought this for my wire repair on my dash. I just got done with. So I got a whole roll here. I'm just going to cut about an inch. Okay. Slip that onto the wire first. Like so. Okay, and I'm going to remove one of my bolts here that I put in earlier. You could probably use a fork terminal. Like this is an eyelet, it's round. I don't know what the proper term is for the fork ones, but they're basically like this, but a U shape. So they're open-ended. Then you can just loosen this and you can slip it on. But I'm going to use this one. That's good there. When you put this on, put the flat side up. You know, if you put it like this, it's going to create a problem. Put it like this, it'll sit nice and flat. Okay? Alright, so I just dropped my screw. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and crimp this. Like that. Looks like my heat shrink is too small to go over the connector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the blue part. Okay, like this. I'm going to cut it off. Normally you'd have heat shrink, or you just have the heat shrink connector. But in my case, I'm not spending extra money for something when I already got something here. I can make it work. So, alright, so once this is cut and removed, shit can that. Alright, so you just got your connector here, and this will fit over here just nice now. Grab your lighter. Heat this up. The heat shrink tubing actually shrinks faster than the heat shrink connectors, so this shrinks up real nice. Okay, so there you have it. Alright, so I got my heat shrink on, got my eye connector on, everything's watertight, airtight, good to go. So again, when you install this, you want to put the flat side up. Let there be light. Okay, let me see if I can get some light on the subject here. Alright, so go ahead and you want to put your wire facing back, because that's where the connection is going to. Now when you get up close to getting tight here, this thing is going to want to spin, so you're going to want to have to hold it with your finger, your thumb, and just tighten it down. Okay, and as you can see, the OHC works. Well, as far as the lights, again, that's a Bugman's OHC panel. It's really nice. It's good quality, nice and bright. Alright, so now this is as far as I'm going tonight. As far as wiring the other stuff, you want to use your heat shrink connectors, butt splice, heat shrink, good stuff. And really all you need is these 3 wires. Now what I do is I go down to Lowe's or Home Depot to the wiring section, and you can get a 3-strand wire. It's 3 separate wires inside one wire. They're all, you know, insulated separately. And then so get you know, probably like an 18 gauge or 16 gauge that's got 3 separate ones in it, or even you know, you can get a single one for the power, and then get one that's got 2 for the temp sensor, because it's got to go outside. So you can run these together until you get down to the door somewhere, but then they're gonna have to separate. So just run a single wire for the power and get a double wire for the temp sensor and get something that's exterior, because it's going to be ran outside. So basically just run these over. You can run them left or right. I run them over the passenger side. Snake it down to pillar, and then in through the dash. I just drill a little hole down there, just big enough to get the wire through. So other people, actually, one guy that did, I actually just pulled the dash apart. There's only, there's a screw up here on the windshield and a bolt on the windshield, bolt down on the side by the door. So you can remove those and you can pop the dash just a cunt hair to get the wire in. So, and then so the power you want to run, if you got aftermarket CD deck or whatever, just run it off one of the, the yellow or the red. It really doesn't matter much. Well, I guess you want to run off the red. You want to run off a key hot, otherwise it'll be on all the time. So run that to the red or key hot. The speed sensor, the gray-black one, if you want to run that, then get a double wire, a wire with 2 wires inside to run down behind the dash, because you'll need to bring that down there too. But I don't run it, so I just run the power, and then the speed sensor, you just hook up to your wire. You can get through the firewall or whatever. So that's about that. Let me take this off here. Let's see what we got going on here. Alright, so here's the hole that I cut. It's about 1/4 inch inside of the bracket. So overall, the hole is 1/2 inch narrower than the bracket. As far as the back here, you really just need to be past these holes. That's where the OHC mount screws up in the back. So the reason why you want that is you want enough metal above the headliner so that when you screw the OHC up, there's not a gap up here. Okay, if you cut this too far back, this bracket's going to flop down and it's going to look like shit. So do it right the first time. These wires here, you want to make sure they're not pinched on the metal. That's a cut waiting to happen. So run these over here, and they'll run up in this hole here. Oops. Let's see. There's Bugman's LED. Very bright. Here, let's put this. I'm gonna put this on so we can. Okay, this way I can show you guys. Well, it's really hard to see. I have a flashlight here. Just want to show you guys the gap, or the lack of gap, right here. Nice and tight. That's what we're looking for. No gaps. It's actually, you can see the well, maybe not. The headliner's actually pinched. It's being pushed up by the OHC, so it's got a real nice tight fit. So if you use the method that I showed you with the bracket, that thing will line up perfect every time. So with that, that's basically it. The wiring's real simple. I think the hardest part is the actual physical mounting of it, drilling into your roof and things. So that'll do. Alright, so I just wanted to show you real quick what I was talking about with the connectors. If you have an aftermarket CD deck. Right here is the smart plug for it. this gray one right here. And see here they've got 2 wires. They got 2 yellow and 2 red. Now these were longer, and I believe these went to another plug, the square style. So these are like, you know, universal right when they changed. I don't know. So these 2 went to a square plug, where this is rectangle. So, you know, this red one is a key hot. Yellow's battery, so that's a constant hot. You don't use that. For you 04 plus guys, you could run your map light power to this. This is a constant. It need to be switched at your dome light, you know, for the Mustang light. But yeah, for the OHC, you can run it right here, and you can cut it. You know, when you get the plugs, cut it. Just leave some wire on there, and then it's perfect. It's ready to go.